Now, Donald Trump has responded angrily on Twitter. He said, "Never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences, the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious." Well, for more on this, let's cross to Dr. Syed Mustafa Hossesh in Tehran. He's a professor of news and media at the Applied Sciences University of Tehran. Good to have you with us. So we have a situation where presidents of both the countries, Iran and the US, are exchanging this, frankly, inflammatory series of messages. Why is Iran's president engaging in this way?
Hello, and thanks for having me. Well, you know that Iran has done its best in order to give diplomacy a chance to work. But apparently, after complying with all its undertakings, it has come to realize that despite the fact that Iran has always been trying to resolve its problems ever since, especially President Rouhani rose to office, through a problem settlement strategy, the United States has been trying to only contain Iran's power components that include its missile industry, regional power, as well as its nuclear industries. So the United States has never been after, a problem settlement with Iran. They've been trying only to contain Iran. So the only weapon that they had in order to do their strategy has been the sanctions against Iran. That's why they dropped the nuclear deal in order to hold the sanctions weapon against Tehran. So Tehran has come to realize that it's no use talking to the United States, especially under President Donald Trump, and it has to stand firm. In other words, Tehran has been cornered and forced to stand up firm and strong against the threats leveled against the Islamic Republic by the United States. Otherwise, it has to sustain more and more blows from the United States.
In fact, Iran's supreme leader has called on state bodies to support President Rouhani in fighting US sanctions. What is it he wants them to do? How can you stand firm against US sanctions?
Well, first of all, there have been, these sanctions are nothing new. They've been experienced at the time of Obama, so Iran has the experience to confront these sanctions first. Second, there have been multiple programs and plans developed by the Iranian parliament and the government in order to bypass the sanctions and develop Iranian national economy. In the meantime, we know that the U.S. sanctions need to have international support if they are to work and produce some influence and pressure on Tehran. At the present time, we know that the Chinese are at the war of tariff. The United States allies, Europeans, are also at the war of tariff with the United States. So they are not rendering support to the U.S. strategy similar to the last time. Also, the Russians are on the sanctions. Chinese and Russians know that if the U.S. hawkish policy in this war of economy succeeds against Iran, then they could be the next target. That's why they are not happy with the U.S. strategy, and they are helping Tehran in order to stand up to the U.S. threat and war of economy. In the meantime, replacing Iran's supplies is a very cumbersome task. The market prices are tight in the oil market, and any escalation of tensions could rise the energy prices. That means that other countries' energy consumers should pay the price for the United States' belligerent policy towards Tehran, and they are not satisfied with that. They are upset with such a strategy because they should pay the price. Japan, South Korea, India, and China, they are
a lot of people are worried by the rhetoric that we're seeing between Iran and the US. So can I ask you what the way ahead is? If, for example, the US proposed a new deal with Iran, is there a way forward through which the situation could be calmed?
No, as a matter of fact, Iran has done its best under, the previous negotiations. What's the use and what's the credit for the United States to speak of a new deal? The U.S. never complied with its undertakings under the previous deal. One actually point is that the U.S. is now playing the bad cop to pressure Tehran to coax Tehran into agreeing to similar deals with the Europeans. Iran's conditions for the Europeans is that it would not go for new negotiations over its missile industry or regional power, but it wants the nuclear deal to work. So it has required the Europeans to take up the responsibility to comply with their undertakings under the nuclear deal. The Europeans have stressed their political stance in support of the deal, but they need to work and to do some practice and take action to show their loyalty to this deal. If they, comply with their undertakings under the deal, the nuclear deal, then there could be some de-escalation, I believe, because this strong pulses that Tehran is sending, some of these pulses are to the Europeans to understand that these are the last-ditch efforts by Tehran to avert a crisis escalation.
Good to get your thoughts there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on TRT World, Dr. Syed Mustafa Hoshish there in Tehran.